Welcome back to the channel. Today we're reacting to the late, the great James Earl Jones. Now before we get started, I want you to consider checking out my other YouTube channel. The link is in the description box below. It's the female's version to this YouTube channel. Help me get this video to 1,000 likes, and as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.
Tell me the first film where you ever saw Sidney.
The first film, when an airplane, I just think, no, I could go to the one that's most interesting, and that's when I saw him in Cry the Beloved Country. But I might have seen him in the Rourke film, Something of Value. I don't know which came first. Cry came first, 52, yeah, okay.
52.
1952. Now, can we start again? Because I was waiting for the plane to pass.
Oh.
Yeah, do you mind?
Sure.
When you are watching the papers there, I get reflections sometimes. Oh, the sun, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah?
Okay, sure. Right.
Okay, same question. What film did you first see him in?
The first film I saw Sidney in was Cry the Beloved... I'll do it again. The first film I saw Sidney in was Cry the Beloved Country. It was a film he did with candidly of the Alan Paton story back in 1952.
Let me know in the comments, are you a fan of Sidney Poitier?
In South Africa, which was heavily under apartheid, newly under apartheid. At least the film was set in 52. I think it was done around that same time because I was in college, I think. Anyway.
Where were you?
Pardon?
Where were you when you saw it?
University of Michigan.
You were in college?
Yeah. And Sidney was, he looked like a college student himself. And it worked very well for the character of the young priest he was playing. And he was...
What were you doing in college? What were you there for?
Well, it depends on what year it was. I started out as pre-med, then I switched to drama department in my junior year before I went to, the Army.
So when you saw him, had you thought about becoming an actor?
I don't know. I had not thought I would be. I didn't think I would be. I didn't. Oh boy. I didn't think about being an actor even when I began acting studies. I thought about being a soldier, and the idea of being an actor didn't occur to me until after my service was almost finished. So. No, I just saw him as an appreciative audience.
What did you think when you saw him?
I said, God, he really seems like an African. And that seemed to me the hardest thing for a black American actor to do. And I didn't know anything about Sidney then. It said that he was from the Caribbean. I said, that must be, he is in touch with the non-American sound, whatever that is. And great, if I try to sit up now, more than usual, is because Sidney is straight. Sidney sits up straight. Sidney walks straight. He inspires us to all stand up straight, So, but he was standing up straight in that film, and the combination of him and Canada was just wonderful.
Yeah, what a combination.
Yeah.
What did seeing him and Canada up there mean to you?
Well, the whole thing about black actors in leading roles began to, occur to me. And before that, I don't think anybody really worried. Hollywood sure didn't worry about it. Where's the box office there? They'd say, And blacks weren't into complaining a whole lot about the images. I myself would watch John Wayne movies. I'd walk out of Honville feeling like John Wayne. Didn't matter to me. I didn't need a black face to identify with, But there was.
Now, even though he just got done saying representation didn't really matter to him, let me know in the comments, does it matter to you?
Something that was missing in the American spectrum when I saw Jeff Chandler playing all the Indians, and not a real Indian. And I knew I was raised among Chippewa Indians, and I knew what they looked like and what they. How they were different culturally. And I kept wondering, why can't I see them playing Cochise and so on? And Sidney and also Harry, both being from the Caribbean, that was somehow much more feasible in a way because they weren't American black men. They were in touch with a different reality than guys like me from Mississippi, you know.
And what was your reality?
Their reality?
Your
Oh,
reality.
mine. Mine was if I stayed in Mississippi, I would have been castrated, probably psychologically. I would not have been allowed at that age, from my puberty on. At that time, I was born in 31 rather, and when I came into my manhood, I would have been primed for lynching. Because I think all women are beautiful, and I would have ogled women regardless of their color, and as Emmett Till would have gotten into a whole lot of trouble, you know. That's not the only thing, the most important thing about segregation and discrimination, but it's just one that I always think about. If I hadn't moved to the North, I could easily have been a target.
Well, look at Willie McGee. I mean, my God, you know, I'm doing this thing on Bella Abzug. Willie McGee was living with a white woman. They've been living together for years.
Yeah.
And yet her father accused him of raping her. I mean, that's why he was sent to his death. Yeah. You know, so you were dealing with something very, very absolutely real there.
McGee was the one who was executed twice, right? Electrocuted twice?
I don't remember, but I know he was executed.
There was a case when I was at Michigan. And I remember all the law students having these ridiculous conversations about the right to do it again, you know. And I think it was McGee or one of those boys from Mississippi. But the point I'm getting at is that was our orientation. And Sidney and Harry came to this country with a whole different orientation, and not just in their lifetimes, in the whole spectrum of the African in this hemisphere. The Africans in the Caribbean were treated much more like prisoners, which means with more dignity. And the Africans in the USA, under a Protestant ethic, were treated like animals because the Protestants couldn't admit that they were doing this to another fellow human being. So they switched the whole focus, say, well, this is only a half of a person with no soul. You can all the slave girls you want to do and shoot all the big black bucks you want to do, and it didn't really matter.
But what did you mean?
And that was what the Mississippi orientation set me in, you know.
What do you mean they were treated like prisoners in the Caribbean?
Much more. Well, they had a soul. They were complete people. They were just in bondage. That's all. Bondage was the only thing. The difference today between a prison that treats you, you know, with not respect, but as a total person, and gives you a total life, gives you something to do in prison, as one that treats you like a child or not a total human being, and treats you and gives you nothing.
Paint me a picture in the comments. Let me know, explain exactly how are you treated, especially in this day in life. You know, are you treated good, treated bad, etc.? What?
That was the difference. And it all was about the Protestant ethic. Catholic countries didn't have quite the same problem. The French of Canada, the way they treated the Indians there, were not quite the same any more than it was horrible, but not the same. Robbing of the soul. The Catholics of South America.
Right.
Same.
It's the way when I hear hunters say, you know, I get such an exhilaration when I kill a deer. It's an exhilaration.
It is, too.
For them to hurt a black man because it's like killing an animal.
Yeah.
But I don't see Sidney as, you know, I just finished his book. I'm coming from Cat Island, which was the teeniest little place in the world. He was surrounded by black people. So he never had that sense of being discriminated against at all, I don't think.
But then I was surrounded by black people, too. The difference still is how your parents were treated. Sidney once said, I think at the academy session we had the other day, there was a system set up for him in Florida when he first arrived here. He said it didn't work because of what his parents had given him. That is, the segregation system was set up for him. And it was us, you know. his parents had given him something better.
Oh, absolutely.
A better defense against it.
Who were the actors, black and white, whom you most admired up to that point? Well, John Wayne.
John Wayne, yeah. I don't know I would have liked John Wayne as a person, though. I think I would have hated him probably as a person. I had a chance to work with him once in Cowboys. He'd mellowed then, of course, and had gone through the first defeat of the Big C. And there was this movie about young cowboys and this older, wagon master and the black cook. And I was offered the role of the black cook, and I turned it down, and John called me. He says, Jones, why aren't you doing this role? I said, well, I guess I don't know enough about cowboys. He says, too bad. But the fact that he called me was kind of nice. But I'd heard horrible things about him in terms of, I think Willie Best was one of the black actors that were always in John Wayne's movies. And one day the director asked Willie to do the eye-rolling thing, like a black man does, especially in state of fear. And for some reason, Willie said, I don't think that's funny in this scene. And he was an expert at it. And John says, why don't you think that's funny? And there was nothing Willie could say to explain to John why they just wanted the eyes to roll. And maybe I'm too hard on John Wayne. Maybe he was just simply unaware.
Product of his times.
More than a mean person, because that was the way things were. Jack Benny. I mean, Jack Benny was the only one of those showmen that was not that way. Bob Hope was that way, and they all were that way. Bing Crosby, they were all. It was easy to be bigoted. Why am I talking about the Hollywood politics here? You asked me a question about Sidney and.
Well, because Sidney was, for a long time, the only leading man who was also black in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And how in the world that was accomplished, I have no idea. Do you?
No, I don't, because I did not focus on Hollywood then and don't now. It is a weird place. I think the fact that there was one was very, very important. We can handle one. Don't give us more than one.
But why Sidney?
Because his skin is very dark, for one thing. That was probably a gesture as close as they could make to true Africa, to the image of the dark, not the brown skin that Harry had or the thin nose that Lena Horne had, but to a truly African-looking man and beautiful. I think they were very, very proud of that they didn't choose a light-skinned man, black man, Also, Sidney, as I say, was Caribbean. It was very different for that establishment. But it made me important that there be only one.
What did you admire in him as an actor?
Well, I just talked about he's straight. He's straight. There's a certain dignity that he is, and he insists upon from others. He insists upon it in his roles. It's not that I would have made those choices, but I admire the fact that he did. That he said once, I don't mean to quote him, but that he wanted to play roles where young black people, young boys in particular, would leave the theater saying, yeah, I can be a cop, I can be a psychiatrist, I can do this, rather than whatever they had thought they were going to end up being, but to elevate their horizons. That was his mission. Not unlike Gary Cooper's, who vowed never to play bad guys. He wanted to show the good side of life, something positive. And those are noble missions, and maybe only men like Gary Cooper and Sidney Poitier could find their way through their careers and stay faithful to that ideal. I don't know.
I think the night you were there, when they were showing all the clips of his films, they showed A Raisin in the Sun. Did you see that?
I saw it on stage and in film, yeah.
You see, I saw something, both in the Cassavetes film, where he played that dock worker, and In the Raisin in the Sun, which was like nothing that I'd seen before or since.
The whatever hampers an image,
Right.
if you want to be just the good guy, it leaves out a lot of edges. And these characters had edges. I mean, Walter Lee had scary edges, and Sidney played him. I mean, he was scary at times.
Yeah.
The calm side of Walter and the rage side of him were just scary.
I just got thrilled again
Yeah.
by it. It was not noble,
Right.
but it was magnificent.
Yeah. I don't think he took those chances too often. or he made sure that the whatever edges the character had, they were bent toward noble.
Although, in Lilies of the Field, I thought, that was, they did that in 2 weeks. They made that in 2 weeks.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, on $350,000. Ralph Nelson did that. In Lilies of the Field, I also felt that he had such a common touch. His humor, that whole Caribbean humor.
Oh yeah, I was convinced that Harry had done the music in that. It is true, isn't it? It was Harry's voice.
I don't
Daylight Come?
remember. Yeah, of course.
It sounded like Harry Belafonte. But whatever, Sidney is not above the common touch. I mean, that's not the point of playing noble characters. I mean, it is rare to see him have fun, as he did in that movie, as he did in the piece of the action. Get down and get silly once in a while. That does not take away dignity. Yeah. I thought, but it'll come back to me. But what was unexpected? Go ahead.
All right. When did you and Sidney actually meet? When did you meet each other?
Sidney, back when actors like Lou Gossett and Raymond St. Jacques, actors of my generation, who were not that much younger than Sidney. It's just we were getting a little later start than he was, and didn't have quite the Roman candle, wonderful star shining. But Sidney would give us court now and then. He and Bill Cosby, and sometimes Sammy Davis Jr., and usually Harry Belafonte, would take out Leon Bibb maybe one night and go to the Hotel Teresa for a night, or take me out, or take Clarence Williams came, one of the Black Rat Pack adoptees,
Yeah.
He would do that. I don't know why he did it. I liked the fact that he did it. He'd call up and say, "Hey, want to come hang out with us?" And it's a great thing for us to do, to learn. The night he took us to Copacabana, when the Supremes were singing, and he and Harry went backstage and chewed those girls out. I think it has something to do with bubblegum music and how they were wasting their talent. I said, man, how did they dare chew somebody else out? But they were on a mission then. They around the time they'd come back from Europe with this condemnation of Europe about it being decadent, and how, whereas African Americans used to think of Europe as the place to go for elevation and for freedom and to soar, they said, no, don't kid yourself. There's a lot of decadence over there. I mean, so they were on a mission, and they were being godfathers in a way, and it's something I would not have done, would never do, and I'm glad they didn't do it to me. But they did embrace us. They did the next crop of actors. They embraced us very lovingly.
So you didn't just hang out and meet terrific girls and
I never met any girls with these guys. I mean,
okay, what a waste of gorgeous guys.
yes, I would say so.
What a waste. So, did you ever study together in the old? I mean, were there ever any teachers
No,
that you shared?
the closest thing to study in relationship to Sidney was those times when he'd meet you privately, and it was easy to tell you something about where he was at, or to find out where you were at. In one of those sessions, he said to me, "Don't rush to Hollywood, because they will take you there for what you are, not for what you can become."
Whoa.
You know, in terms of training, he said, New York will give you better training. If you can afford to wait, don't rush out there. But he would it's like counseling, you know, but never about how to act, just about how to manage your career, how to do your career thing, you know.
So he felt like a responsibility, like a mentor.
At worst, it was Godfather, I guess. Not just him, but his whole crop. At best, it was really the best mentoring and the best wisdom the next crop could get from them, you know.
What a dear thing to do.
Yeah.
You've only worked together in 2 movies. He directed you in A Piece of the Action in 1977.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Like Sidney is straight and carries dignity with him, he brought that to the film. You might say, well, what's Sidney Poitier doing in a movie that has a little fun and it talks about black young people without giving them cop-outs, like why you're not successful? This movie says the reason you're not successful because you haven't applied yourself. You walk up and ask for a job and don't act like you can handle the job. You don't carry any dignity with you. Simple dignity, you know. Common courtesy was the theme of the, and this is what the story was about. And I think Sidney always made sure that if his character didn't have dignity, that somehow the whole message of the story, if you can say a message, did have a theme that he could be proud of. And that was one example. And he and Bill had a lot of fun. I mean, they were hoodlums in the story, and yet they were heroes. And so how was it?
How did he direct you?
Very simple. I don't remember a whole lot. I remember one scene. It was crucial because I was so busy wearing my hat, my detective hat, that I didn't think of anything else about how was my hat sitting. And there's something he wanted out of me in terms of how my character was finally joining with them rather than manipulating them. And I wasn't getting it. And I don't remember what he wanted, or I don't remember what got in my way. It was a moment I know when he was like that. I knew that something had missed. I missed something. He wanted something. And I never asked him what it was, you know. Because he tried to keep his directing very simple. I mean, not making it a whole head trip in terms of what I mean, you know.
Yeah. And you acted together in Sneakers almost 20 years later.
I had the great fortune of acting with every star in Sneakers in one scene. I had them one at a time, you know. Sidney and Robert, yeah. I played this CIA type guy, yeah. Who came to nail him.
The big Goomba.
Yeah, the big Goomba. Coming in to nail them all, you know. And they nail me, you know. And with some fun, too. I mean, when they came up with their requests, they were playing characters who were like nerds, computer nerds. And the mission, again, theme, the mission was to eliminate all secrets. They thought the keeper of the secrets were the most dangerous people to any society. So they were out to mess up all the secrets, to make secrets all void. And so they're hired and so on by. And this is the showdown scene. And when they come in with their requests, it's all requests they would have made at age 13. I want a chip. I want a Winnebago, because they have been cloistered in computer worlds. It's just a wonderful story.
Didn't it like strike you at any time, hey, you know, I saw this guy when I was at the University of Michigan, and here it is, 1992, and here I am acting right alongside of him, right up there. I mean...
All of them, yeah. I mean, he and Redford both, yeah. No, I wasn't impressed because he doesn't make you impressed. He comes onto the set like everybody else. And you're not waiting for Sidney to arrive after everybody else is assembled. He's there. I saw him, and I know it was a very tiring scene because when you got, how many, 6 stars and a guest actor, you got a lot of takes. You got to do everything at least 6 times, plus all the different whatever. And they were tired. And all Sidney did one day was he was standing against the wall, and he put his hands in his pocket, spread his legs, and sort of bent over, like stretching his hamstrings, you know. But not so as like to you notice he stretched his hamstring. He just bent over. And I saw the top of his head. He had not covered up his gray, you know. I said, yeah, he's coming into a man I really understand, you know, with no pretenses, no covers. And I kind of admired and loved him differently from that moment, you know. And I never told him that.
Mm.
You know?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. One problem I have in a formal interview about Sidney is that I really don't know him very well later in his life. I mean, after those days when he would counsel us and so on, and we would hang out together, I've gotten to know him a little better recently because his wife and my wife get along, and it's nice to go out with him. But the early Sidney, I don't really know him that well because it was that sort of not other generation, but other crop, I call it, of people. And also, I'll compare it with Ali. I love Ali like I love Sidney. And I don't know Ali at all. I know what he created, the persona he created, and I know the quiet persona he is now. And I think the quiet one is really closer to the real thing. So when I talk about people, I don't know whether I'm talking about the persona or the real thing. And with Sidney, I can't separate him from what I've seen him do. And that's probably, we're all stuck with that. The Sidney we know is the one we met on screen. And that's okay, I think, isn't it?
I think it's, you know, I think it's extremely legitimate, particularly since, I mean, he could not help, whether he liked it or not, being a role model for, I mean, all the young black actors. I mean, you were at the University of Michigan. Another actor who spoke to me was like a 13-year-old in Chicago when he went and he saw Sidney, you know, being a psychiatrist, and said, you know, hey, or, you know, whatever it was, I think that young black boys or men suddenly saw on the screen a possibility of something that they could be.
Yeah. I can find no fault with Stephen Fetchit and Willie Best, but their horizons were very, very limited.
Yeah.
What they could be on film was zero, nothing. And Sidney showed everything. You could be everything, you know.
That's it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I mean, white people in a racist country in that period were as attracted to him as black people. Very attracted to him.
Listen, in magnetism, great looks, beautiful looks. That's nothing new. People of different races have found others attractive ever since there have been different races. It just now they had to admit it. You know, or else, why am I holding this ticket to see guess who's coming to dinner? Or does he raising his son? Why am I holding the ticket? Say, I love this man. You know, I would love to love this man. I mean, just admission. There were, his stardom just brought a lot of people out of the closet as being admirers of the beauty of the black person. You know.
Yeah. Now, at a certain point, and I think it was after Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and it's interesting because that didn't happen with you in Great White Hope, but there were a lot of particularly black men who turned on Sidney then.
Well,
was
you
that
know,
about?
that was part of the way Hollywood, not the theater world or the film world in general, but Hollywood sets people up just to knock them off. Somebody made a decision. It's time to give Sidney a little spot, you know. And they hired another friend of mine, Cliff Mason, who was writing for the New York Times, to begin the attack. You know.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what Cliff was really talking about either, but he began to attack Sidney for making choices, like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And you knew it was a setup. He was a hitman, and that is something I'm afraid Hollywood will do to all of them, those who become a certain side. What else do they do with them? Do they cast them in wax? I mean, what else do you do but knock them off, right? That is natural for Hollywood. It's as natural as Hollywood can be natural.
You think it came from a setup from Hollywood?
It didn't matter whether he crossed the line about race and about miscegenation or something else. You know, it's like Martin Luther King crossing the line with, what, the Vietnam War? Who shouldn't? But some little thing gave a signal to, you know, one of those little things. You know.
So, in other words, it was an assassination.
An attempted one, but it didn't work. And they chose a black man to, as far as I know, to lead it. But you say it didn't happen in my case.
In Great White Hope.
Oh, because of the miscegenation theme.
Yeah.
I just think simply, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was about that. The Great White Hope was not about that. That was just one of the energies in it, that's all. You know. So we got away with it, you know. Except for Jane getting letters, but that was not, people knew that was not what the, you know, like Patton was not about the war against the fascists. It was about this great general who was an outrageous human being. You know. I think it's quite clear when great movies are done, it's quite clear what they're about. Okay.
Do you think that he was treated fairly as an artist?
Probably indulged early on because they wanted only one. I said this to him. I said it the last time I saw him, and in public that Sidney, if Sidney didn't like a movie, it was assumed by the establishment that there was something wrong with this script, so they would kill it usually. And I was always hoping, well, if it's a piece of crap, let us guys who are looking for work have some crap. You know, we like to do some crap. You know, Sidney was a filter for crap, and he would not. In fact, he would say it is not right, meant that it was not right. And they indulged him as the icon, and in a way as the judge of they always want to, they meaning the white establishment wants to authenticate their decisions by having if it's a Greek issue, they have a Greek make the judgment on it. This is a black issue, they have the black person make a judgment. Sidney was ideal for that, to establish a criteria. You know. But beyond that, I don't think they did him any favors. If that was a favor, you know. He was great box office. He is great box office. Is.
Tell me your thoughts about Sidney Poitier as the actor, and why you read it. Throw in James Earl Jones as well.
Like he and Redford still are great box office. And that's what was such a thrill with sneakers, you know.
What do you think made him disappear from the screen in the 70s for 10 years?
Well, you know, I keep putting them in the same category, and they don't belong in it. But I admire them the same way for being men who established their own time to come back. You know, they developed their own stories, Redford and Poitier. They're I don't know anybody else who does. Are that independent? They can take time off, create a story, work on it, do the pre-production, post-production, you know, And it takes that long to get a project done. So it's not a matter of disappearing. They both do that. They go back to work, out of the public eye. If you know something, if your question is about something else, I don't know. I was not aware of Sidney ever being absent from the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Were you aware of an absence?
Oh, yeah, I was.
Well, you love him so much that you
Yeah.
want to see him. I'm a man. You're a woman. You know. I can live.
I like to think I'm
without seeing him.
above that,
You can't
Jimmy.
live without seeing him. That's the difference. But I didn't miss him. I didn't know he was absent. I really didn't.
Sidney said to me when I asked him to do this, he said, I want you to think in terms of my being more than a black man. I mean, I know that we're going to be talking about civil rights and racism in the country and everything and like that, and I want to. But I also want you to think in broader terms. I am not only a black man. I'm a man with interests, and I'm a thinker, and I'm an ambassador to Japan now, and so I'm tired of always going over the same old question, which is, why were you the black actor? You know what I'm saying, Jimmy? Are you following?
When he came back from Europe with that message about decadence, that's what he meant, and that was not about being black. He was an American observing a society that we had held up to such esteem that he said we should take another look. That's what that was about. Yes, he wanted to be other than black. I think part of the devil's bargain is that the criteria that got you in, that's what you're stuck with. The beautiful black face.
But say that more. I mean, elaborate on that more.
Well, that was not part of the bargain, that you'd be valid on other issues besides being black. Hollywood was not really used to that. Like, they were not used to Jim Brown being anything other than an ex-football player who beat up girls and threw them out the window. So I'm sure they conjured stories. I know the stories about violence, about hitting people was conjured about me. And it's not that there's somebody up at the top, pulling these strings, but there is a puppetry going on. And especially in the PR world, if you want to get somebody in the spotlight, what's the quickest way to do it? Little something that, not quite true, but interesting. And there are these little games that are played. You get caught in them sometimes, But they are games. And Sidney just wanted to represent more than that.
Yeah.
Than the black thing.
The black issue.
The black issue. Diane Sand once said to me, why should I know about, when they, meaning the producers, would come to her with, now Diane, is this scene about this black brother and sister, is this valid? She said, well, how am I supposed to know? I'm just a human being. I'm not an authority on how blacks behave. Well, they didn't want to hear that. And so I think Sidney had the same attitude. Why am I an authority on just how blacks behave? How about how human beings behave?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, you were going...
They have to get in and move around to leave for a little while. Now, do you want to stop and let them do that? Or would they have...
all right. Now, talking about human beings, you both are married to white women. Is this anything like, Jews marrying shiksas? Is it?
It's simply nobody's business. Why? I might have the worst reason for marrying the woman I'm married to, but it's still nobody's business. I happen to have a good reason for marrying her. It's because I love her, But I have a right to have the worst reason too. It's nobody's business, and that's all I can say about it, And I don't ever want to get defensive about it. That's a waste of my energy. Once you let other people determine your choice of a mate for life, even your parents don't have a right to intrude on that choice. So it just takes away the concern about it. Why people are still concerned, it has a lot to do with a lot of bad habits, I think. Hollywood doesn't like to show that a lot. Not because it's not valid or interesting, but because it's a bad habit. And they felt safer at one time long ago, far away, not to show it. There was a real concern that if you show black men showing spine, hitting a white guy back, that'll set off some kid in the ghetto to do that, or marrying a white woman, or going out with a white woman. That'll set off some behavior that we're not ready to sanction yet. And they took the responsibility for for the whole nation, a whole standard of behavior. Well, those days are gone, but the habits have not gone.
Don't you think that's changed a lot in this, especially since the Spike Lee period? I mean, there's a very, very different sensibility on screen now, Jimmy, in terms
But
of...
you see, the bad habits are not just from the white establishment. The bad habits are also with black women who hate to see a star who's black married to a wife who's white. That's the bad habit there. That's not just now beginning to be indulged in. I mean, everybody wants to squeeze as much juice out of that racist thing, that racist pomegranate that they can. And blacks are not above it.
I want you to talk about that thing you're going to Fisk for, that sense of fighting the black racists too.
Well, no, I'm going to Fisk. I hope to learn more about it. I have to set firmly in my mind what white supremacy is first, because that leads to white racism. Then I'll understand what the aspiration for black supremacy, how that misleads us as well. And I have no comment to make about it yet. I want to learn about it.
Okay.
This video, you got to see one legend uplift and talk about and share the opinions of another legend. If you managed to watch the entire video, I want you to go into the comments and put Sidney Poitier / legend. Tell me your thoughts about this video. And as always, don't forget to like, share, watch more videos, and subscribe to the channel.